Hey, mathematicians. This is Mrs. Shopper coming to you with Pythagorean theorem and its converse. Those of you in class, say hi to Miss Oysted. You're so lucky to have her subbing today. I'm hoping that she's still subbing. She's planning on it, but she's a rock star. So yeah, you missed the opportunity to have her as a teacher. She used to teach 7th grade math here. She's fantastic. All right, so we're going to be talking about the Pythagorean theorem and its converse today as we work through it. So here we go. Pythagorean's theorem, nothing new, friends. It's still a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and only still works with right triangles. Nothing new, sticking with it, okay? Finding x, okay, come on, we got this. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know, I'm asking a lot right now, right? 16 plus 49 equals c squared. 16 and 49 is... You're like, oh, come on, Shops, just do it in your head. So 65 is equal to c squared. So c is equal to, drum roll, please, 8.06. Good, got it, right? Okay, Pythagorean triples. This is something that I want you to really think about. And the reason why I want you to remember these is because when you do high stakes tests, there's a lot of times they're going to throw out Pythagorean triples to you, which will be super efficient if you remember them, but it takes more work to compute if you don't. So a Pythagorean triple is 3 numbers that always make a squared plus b squared equals c squared true. And it can be any of these triples or multiples of them. Okay, so 3, 4, 5 is 1, but so is 6, 8, 10 because I'm doubling. Or I can take 15, 20, 25 because I'm multiplying them all by 5. But really, you want to focus on remembering these triples. It makes things a lot easier down the road, okay? Those are 3 numbers that make, that are integers, that make a squared plus b squared equals c squared true, okay? So for example, this is an example of Pythagorean triple. Okay, we have a 20-foot ladder against a wall that's 16 feet. Now, if you're someone who remembers your triples, you're going to see that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. 5 times 4, 4 times 4, 3 times 4. Bam, 12 feet. If I remember that that's a triple or multiples of those triple, and I know what to look for, I just came up with my answer that way. Now, the question is going to be, do I have to show her work, Miss Shopper? Well, just give me a little hint that you used a triple so I don't think you're just copying the answer key, especially if you're not in person with me. But really, that's all it is, okay? Now, if you forget the triple, you can still do 20 squared equals 16 squared plus a squared. And you can solve that down, and you're going to get 12. So it's going to work. Okay. Converse. Remember what converse is? Converse. You flip your hypothesis and your conclusion, right? So the converse says if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then it's a right triangle, right? So that's the converse. Now, we can take some ideas from this, and those are called the Pythagorean inequality theorems. This is something that's probably new to you. All right. This is dealing with triangles that are not right. Okay, right? Because we know if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that it's a right triangle. But what happens if a squared plus b squared is more than c squared? Or if a squared plus b squared is less than c squared? Okay, we can tell what kind of a triangle it is. Now, A and B are always your shorter 2 sides. C is always your longest side. Okay, so if the square of our longest sides is less than the sum of the squares of the smaller sides, it's acute. If the square of the longer side is more than the sum of the squares of the smaller 2 sides, it's obtuse. Okay, so again, this is something you need to study. This is why we do vocab. This is why we do note cards. This is why we work through that process. Okay, it's to really check and make sure that we're studying the vocabulary. Again, becoming efficient means that if I give you 3 numbers and you come up and you're like, hey, yeah, that largest side squared is definitely more than the sum of the other 2 sides squared, you should be able to tell me obtuse, just like that. We shouldn't have to be looking back in our notes, right? That's what we're doing when we're practicing our vocab. That's what we're doing when we're reviewing our notes, is we're helping ourselves become more efficient. So it's not taking us 4 or 5 minutes to do a problem, but rather just a couple, okay? All right, so here we go. Here's some time to work on it. Determine whether 9, 12, and 15 can be the measures of the sides of a triangle, and then classify it. Ooh, we didn't talk about this, okay? Now, in order for a triangle to be a triangle, the sum of two, brain fart, just a second. In order for a triangle to be a triangle, the largest side has to be greater than the sum of the 2 smallest sides, okay? So I need 15 to be more than 9 plus 12, and I need 9, right? So that, no, it's the other way around. Oh, shopper, I was on a roll, okay? My 2 sides have to be longer than the 3rd side. That's where I was going with that. Oh, shoot. Been recording a lot of videos today. Okay, so when I look at this, the sum of any 2 sides must be greater than the 3rd. 9 plus 12 has to be more than 15. 15 plus 12 has to be more than 9. 9 plus 15 has to be more than 12. Think of it as wipers, right? So you've got your car wipers, right? So you have the length of your windshield. If your 2 wipers added together aren't longer than your window, you're not going to get your whole window clean, right? And that means that you're never going to touch, so you're never going to have a triangle. If the 2 wipers are longer than your window, look at this. It touches. And if the 2 wipers are the exact same length of your windshield, they're only going to touch. We'll never get a triangle, okay? So something to think about. All right, so because the sum of any 2 sides is greater than the 3rd, it's a triangle. Now we have to figure out what kind it is. So we want to know, how does 15 squared compare to 9 squared plus 12 squared? So 225, how does that compare to 81 plus 144? Okay, so because 225 is less than, go back to my notes because I'm still learning, right? If it's less than, it's going to be an acute triangle. Okay, now you might say, well, Miss Shopper, but it's not less than. Okay, well, let's see what it is. Okay, so 225 compared to 81 and 144. 81 plus 144 is 225. They're equal. So we call it a right triangle. Okay, it's called a right triangle. Let's look at one more. These definitely form a triangle. We need to figure out if it's acute, right, or obtuse. So I've got 13 squared. I want to know how that compares to 10 squared plus 11 squared. So 169, 100, and 121. This is 221. This is 169. It's less than. So if it's less than, again, when you're starting out, refer back to your notes, right? If it's less than, it's going to be acute. Okay. A triangle has side lengths of 2x, 8, and 12. If the length of the longest side is 2x, what values of x make the triangle acute? Okay, so we want to make it acute. So acute means that 2x squared and 8 squared and 12 squared. So if this is the longest side, we want to make it acute, it's going to be less than, right? And again, if I'm not sure for right now, I'm going to go back and check. All right. So I'm going to solve an equation. This is an algebraic equation. 4x squared is less than 64 plus 144. 4x squared is less than 208. Divide by 4. X squared equals 52. Okay. So x is equal to, let's see what the square root of 52 is. 52 squared root is 7.21. Okay, now we have to figure out the values to make the triangle acute. What does that 7.21 represent? Right? It has to be less than 721. X has to be less than 721, right? Keep that less than symbol all the way through. It's got to be 721. Now, there's also a bottom amount. Okay, there's also a bottom amount. So let's take a look. I still want it to be a triangle, right? That means that any third side has to be smaller than the other two. How can I figure out that bottom amount? I know it can't be negative, so I know it's got to be greater than 0. But will that work to keep it acute? Because let's say that x is 1. 1 times 2 isn't going to give me the longest side, right? 2 times 2 isn't going to give me the longest side. So I also have to say that 2x has to be more than 12. So x has to be more than 6. Because to be the longest side, it has to be greater than 12. So the value of x is going to be somewhere between 6 and 7.21-ish. All right? All right, friends. So this is going to be your assignment. You're going to work on that. If you finish early, especially for those of you in class, work on Brain Genie. You can start working ahead if you want a little bit. Work on your toolbook, study your note cards, review your toolbooks, chapters 1 through 7. You have a lot of options to be preparing for this class, but I would like you to keep working on your math because I think it's important that you spend a fair amount of time each day reviewing your notes. All right. Have a great day. We'll catch you all soon. Oops, I got to try to turn this baby off. All right. See ya. Bye.